Hi, Dalal. My name is Neil. I'm with Dorkaholics, where we believe there's a dork in everyone. It's our job to bring that dork out into the world.
Oh, heck yeah.
First off, I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Is it Dalal Elsheikh?
It's Dalal, but it's okay if you pronounce it Dalal. I know it's a little bit difficult.
Dalal?
Dalal, yeah.
Perfect.
That was a great job. You did it well.
Thank you. So Dalal, tell us about the passion you had for, I'm assuming, vehicles and Hot Wheels that led you to not only become a judge on Hot Wheels Ultimate Challenge, but as a vehicle designer for the Ford Motor Company.
Well, I grew up drawing. I've always loved drawing. That's a thing that I've done since I was a kid. Originally, I thought I wanted to be an architect, but then I found industrial design. So, drawing and being a product designer and studying industrial design, some of my favorite products were always things that felt really sleek and really fast. I started off really being inspired by footwear and sneaker design specifically, and that kind of morphed in combination with my love of cars. But growing up, I didn't know that someone could go into automotive design. I guess I understood intellectually, cars exist, they are products, someone has to design them. But it felt like something that was so not tangible. Um, but after looking into the industry and studying industrial design and really finding out that there are avenues into this space, that's really what got me there. And then, of course, because I just have the passion for it, it's not just my day job, it's something that I love to do. I'm always at car events, I'm always taking pictures of cars, making reviews of how I feel about car culture, automotive culture, Formula One, whatever it might be. I just love being in that space. And I think people saw that and that kind of snowballed. And I met and networked with enough people and just happened to be at the right place at the right time, really.
Mm. And what's been a challenge on the show that you wish you could have participated in, not as a judge, but as a contestant?
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't envy the the super fans because it is so much work to be in that garage and take apart this car that you loved your whole life and reimagine it. But I love building and I love putting things together as much as I love tearing them apart. So I'm kind of jealous of the people who get to work on the cars, especially like body work and things like that. So I think I would have really embraced things like the twist that they get from the Inspirationator, and taken on the challenge of redesigning a car. In tonight's episode, someone is redesigning a Monte Carlo, and the way that they have chosen to extend those body lines, you'll see it tonight, is probably one of my favorites just as far as silhouette goes. So that's probably a team that I would have liked to be on.
Hmm. That's exciting. Thank you for teasing tonight's
Yeah, of
episode for us.
course.
And another question I have is, do you have any advice to leave viewers with, whether it's about life, career, or even simply just how to succeed on Hot Wheels Ultimate Challenge?
Yeah, well, okay. To succeed on Hot Wheels Ultimate Challenge, you have to be uninhibited. You cannot be afraid to go big and go bold and do something crazy. If it feels like maybe you're doing too much, do even more, okay? There's no such thing as less is more. More is more, truly. But I think my number one key to success is truly believing in yourself. I like to tell people that the thing that you think makes you weird or makes you awkward or makes you different is honestly your superpower. You know, you're the only one who can do what you do. So embrace that and really lean into it.
No, I love that. Whether on so many levels, because I'm with Dorkaholics and we love the
Yeah.
superpowers, but that superpower specifically, we love
Yeah.
encouraging people to lean in on their passion or dorkiness.
Yeah, of course. And I remember being younger and feeling like, oh, this is such a weird thing that I like to do and people don't get it and maybe I shouldn't talk about it. But no, lean in. That stuff is cool. That makes you great. I didn't grow up where like everyone around me was drawing or interested in things that I was interested in. But if I let that stop me, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Mm. No, I'm curious. Was there any specific moment during your childhood that really solidified your passion now as an adult, saying like, yeah, like I do like cars, I do like design, like I should figure out a way to do this when I'm older.
I've always had a pretty close relationship with my dad, and I joke that I pretty much like my career has followed whatever he's told me to do. And so I always loved cars. as a designer, I've always loved cars. And I remember being an undergrad, I think in the back of my mind, I was like, I'd really love to be an automotive designer. But it wasn't until like one day, I don't remember where we were driving to. And I think a lot of times, car rides with your parents, that's when you guys have the deepest conversations, when you're not looking at each other and you're both facing forward. And so that was like in the cars primarily where my dad likes to have life talks with me. And so I remember one day he was like, you should be a car designer. And it's something like a light bulb just went off. And that's I immediately started looking at grad schools.
Yeah, I think when I was browsing your LinkedIn, I saw that you were at art center for as a
Yeah.
professor for art for vehicle design.
No, not a professor. I went to art center, but I was a teaching assistant for interaction design. That might have been what you saw. But I
Ah,
did get my master's degree from there. Yeah.
okay.
Interaction.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder was there any parallel between being a teaching assistant and being this role you have now where you're encouraging people to pursue their passions, specifically if it's about Hot Wheels?
I love to command an audience. So that might have been something. I will say being a teaching assistant was a little difficult because on some days when the professor was actually out, it was me in charge of a bunch of students who are essentially my age. So like no one wants to listen to someone who's not that much older than them. So I think that was probably my hardest performance of all time, trying to get those students to actually stick around and do their work and not leave class early. That's probably even easier than doing the show. I mean, that's probably harder than doing the show.
I was just about to ask you, like, what's harder, being for the students or being on a
No,
show?
students are, oh, that's a tough crowd. Okay, they all want to leave.
Yeah. And then, I mean, on the topic of school, like when you mentioned that in school, kind of thinking out what you wanted to do in like, I don't want to say when you were older because you were in college at this point in time, but what were some of those other things that encourage you to explore this realm of vehicle design?
Yeah, no, you can say when I was older because I today will be like when I'm older, I want to do it. So that's very fair. What made me want to do vehicle design? I honestly don't know. I think as a designer, there's just certain visual aesthetics or forms that you might be drawn to. Every designer has their own almost style. I think people can see it much easily with like fashion designers and fashion houses. Rick Owens has a different style from like Tom Ford. So even in industrial design, designers have different styles. And I think mine, even though I was doing consumer products, felt more like the style of automotive design rendering and sketching. And that was a critique I kept getting a lot in my feedback from my professors is that I designed a blender, but I carved it out like a vehicle. And I was like, okay, so something is like clicking here. And I think that's what helped me realize, okay, that there's something here. I should really look into this. I should start pursuing something.
Mm. No, I think when it comes to certain types of design, like you mentioned, like automotive, there's like this balance between form and function.
Right, right, exactly. And so that's obviously that balance of form and function is very different when you're talking about a car versus when you're talking about like an iPhone.
Mhm. And then this is something we love to end interviews with at Dorkaholics. But growing up, who was a superhero that you admired, or it doesn't have to be a superhero, just be any childhood character that you grew up watching or reading about?
Oh, that's a really good one. I loved Sailor Moon as a kid. I loved Sailor Moon. I love Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z doesn't count, but I love Dragon Ball Z too. But Sailor Moon, that's a superhero. And I had, what was that like wand that she had? Like I had that
The,
toy
the
wand and I would take it with me everywhere. And like when you flip it, it would make a noise. Amazing.
no, I love that. I just came back from Anime Expo a few weeks ago, but
Oh, no way.
yeah, but thank you so much for your time today, Dalal.
Of
It
course.
was great speaking with you. Looking forward to
Great
seeing the
speaking with
rest.
you too.